Two. All right, there will be bourbon tonight with Matt Somerlot, who I will get into as to why this fine young man is on the podcast with me. Before we do that, as always, this is a discussion fueled by the finest American spirit, and I received this last week. It's a Bullet single barrel. Not really a Bullet fan, their normal stuff or the Rise. I don't know. Once upon a time, Bullet, they came out. They're not that old, and I think Diageo owns them now. But somehow they've managed to advertise their way into every bar in America. So good for them. But their barrel strength, I always get at Giants games out here in San Francisco. $16 a shot. What up? And then their tenure is really good too. Not 100% sure if that's theirs or not, because I do know they have sourced some stuff from the old Four Roses world. I think they leased one of their yeast strains. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff about it. But anyway, this happens to be incredible. Bullet single barrel, totally unique. Again, remember with single barrels, as actually Matt's got, because that's why he's on here. He's got the Blantons right there, which was the original original single barrel bourbon introduced to the United States, I think back in the 83, 84, something like that, from Buffalo Trace, right? But anyway, so yeah, I don't have a lot number or anything on this, but if you can go out and find Bullet single barrel, hopefully you get one of these. It's delicious. It's incredible. So that's what I'll be doing tonight. But Matt Somerlot, he is here tonight, and I thought it was actually really cool. So once upon a time, I said when I did this podcast that there was a part of me, this was pre-shutdown. I wanted to just get regular people and just talk to them, right? Because you'd be surprised at what regular people have got going on in their lives, what they've done, what they've accomplished, what they're working towards. And, I said, hey, for my 2000th follower on Twitter, I was going to give away a bottle of bourbon. I went through after that number was eclipsed and just started going through people I thought, would be interesting and unique. And I came across Matt's bio, and it said something to the effect that he was sent to the office in first grade several times, something like that. Was that what it was?
I got sent once. Yes, for sure. Just I may have been sent more, but that was the most memorable one.
Because I definitely was sent to the office a lot, and I think we exchanged messages about the old paddle with the airflow holes and all
air. Yeah, man, drilled for wind resistance. Yeah, none of that.
So that's why Matt is on, right? So, and then someone had the idea. I can't remember who it was. I can see his little Avi. I know the picture, but he's like, hey, you should, bring on whoever you give that bottle to. And so that was what was done. And so here's Matt. I'm going to go into a little bit of his bio because he's got some cool stuff. He's actually, before I get into his bio, he's actually an author, right? Sent me his book. Here we go. Hey, got this. I appreciate the inscription, man. That's awesome. I'm going to definitely read this over the holidays when I fly to the East Coast. But it's called Finding His Story in History, a daily discovery melding historical facts and events with scripture to reveal God's message. That's pretty cool, man. Like, it's a real book.
Yeah, man.
A lot of authors out there on Twitter. Yeah, it's cool, man.
No. Yeah, but it was kind of a passion project. We can talk about that more later.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I want. Yeah. So you're a native Atlantan, right? Don't find that much, as you wrote out. Deep appreciation for history, trivia, sculpture. We talked about his claim to fame. It is this book that he managed to write. So here's my first thing that I think is pretty interesting. You wanted to be a doctor, right? But then you ran into what you called the physics buzzsaw. What happened there, man?
Yes. So my dad was a OBGYN. He passed away. It's been like 26 years now, but great guy, delivered a lot of babies here in Marietta. And so, when I was getting ready for college and whatnot, I thought, I want to be like my dad. I looked up to him all the time, still do, and so I went to, Furman and went in pre-med and went biology, and I was all in till I hit physics, man. And it just did not click with me, man, not at all. So then we had to say, all right, what do you do now? Well, I wanted to stay in biology. I loved it, still do. So I ended up doing the horticulture route.
Okay.
So go figure, you start pre-med, you end up with plants. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, but hey, that's the route it went. So, I still have neighbors and friends calling on me to ask advice for, all right, what should I plant here? What should I plant there? So, it worked out all right. There's some foundation.
Did you pursue that after you graduated?
A little bit. Yeah. So a little bit. So here in Atlanta, I actually first started working on a crew that went around and installed color for corporate environments, like all those flower beds you see out in the office parks and things like that. So I ran a crew that would install those. So a lot of fun. It's 2 times a year. You're working like 7 days a week for a couple of months, and a lot of work, but it was very enjoyable. So until the traffic in Atlanta just really started to get to be a grind. So
yeah, I've driven through Atlanta enough to know that I don't need to do that. It's not really one of the things I miss about the East Coast. City's cool, but it's just you got to really time getting through downtown, and or even that bypass isn't great either.
No. And the other thing, even if you're flying, they say, if someone's going to hell, they're going to connect through Atlanta. So you got to deal with the airport as well, right? So,
yeah, the airport's pretty good. It's definitely another city out there. Atlanta's a huge fucking airport if no one's seen it. All right. I know you seem to be like a really good Christian man, Matt. So I hope my profanity doesn't offend you by any chance.
You know what? None of us are perfect, right? So, I always live by the adage that God meets us where we are. And that doesn't mean that we're supposed to be perfect. We strive for that, obviously, but you're not going to offend me, man. So you're
okay,
you're
good.
No worries.
And actually, it reminds me. So Pat McAfee, I don't know if you know who that guy is. Used to be a punter.
Yeah, punter for the Colts. Used to be punter, yeah.
He's got a show on. I was listening to it this morning. Somehow it was brought up. He's like, well, they always say you are as God made you, and God made me this fucking way. That's what he said. And he's like, my first 2 words were fuck off. So I am how God made me. And then he went to commercial.
That's Pat McAfee. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So speaking of which, so you're on Twitter. Obviously I follow you now. I don't know how long you've been on there, what you've been doing. It looks like you've been on for a while.
So here's the deal. Here's what I'm striving for. I want to set the record for the guy that's been on Twitter the longest with the fewest followers, and not a bot. Right.
I don't know. I think you got way too many. I've seen some dudes that have been around since like 2009 that are just they got like 4 or 5 followers. I don't know how they've pulled it off, but they just don't clearly interact. They're just there to follow people,
Well, I interact. I don't know. That's good. It's fine. It's an outlet for me.
Do you know Father Dan Beeman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I listened. In fact, in run up to this, I listened to the podcast you had with him. I'm following him now.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. Awesome dude. But yeah, I was gonna say, if you hadn't heard of him, that'd be a great guy to get you in touch with. You guys probably have a lot in common.
He's absolutely good. No, he was great. That was very enjoyable. Yeah.
So you mentioned physics, right? So I took a class in college called the Realm of Physics, and the only reason I did it was because hard sciences like that, they're very interesting on the surface, and that's what I'm good at. Like you give me an hour long on the History Channel of some physics or chemistry or whatever, I'm all in. But once you start asking me to do like the math and all the other stuff behind it, it's probably like what you felt like. You just lose me. And I'm like, I would consider myself a fairly smart guy, but not when it came to that stuff. Like I failed that class easily, and I felt like I tried and did well, but I just didn't grasp it, man. I didn't get it. I'm clearly not meant to be the next Newton.
So what's the difference between the realm of physics and actual physics?
Great question. And the reason I took the realm of physics was because I could have swore when I read about it in the course catalog, it said specifically there was no math. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's what I want to do. And then I got in there. Man. Yeah, man. And then like halfway through the class, like he's busting out all these equations and formulas. And I'm like, this is not what was in the reading. And so I just didn't get it. I loved what he talked about, the concepts. I still do. Like I'll still, if I see any of that stuff, I can get into it, but I can't do anything with paper and a pencil and you telling me how to, or asking me to do something. Can't do it.
See, that's the running joke in my family is that I can't do math. So like the kids can do math, my wife can do math, but me, so, I just rely on them. So
at this point I've forgotten, but I've probably told it, but I was the same way with math. Like, I couldn't do it. Right. And then I had this gap before, I went to school. I went to college right after high school, played baseball, joined the Army. Took a while before I went back to college. And then when I did, I never did the math classes. I put them off. Right. So then now, I'm going back to college, mid-20s, haven't done math since I was like a junior in high school. And my professors, I remember one dude he was from China. The other dude was from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And they didn't really speak English. Like the only language they spoke was math. Right. So I went and got the teacher's manuals and I would just show up early and teach myself how to do the stuff.
In some ways, maybe better, man. Yeah,
maybe. But I mean, I couldn't do any of it now.
Yeah, no. Well, there are certain things you're just not going to carry over, right?
No,
So
absolutely.
accounting, I took accounting, I did all right, but I don't do that. No, I'm not, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyways.
because that's what I was gonna ask you though. You wanted to be a doctor. I'm surprised. Why was there physics in that? I thought you guys had to do like crazy
I know,
organic
man.
chemistry and
Yeah, well, there was that. Yeah. So that's the
that's
stuff I
just.
love.
Oh, you
Like
were good at that.
yeah, the labs and stuff like that. Yeah, dude, I never will forget this one lab where we had to, we were testing some kind of liver enzyme in one of the mice. And so you literally had to take a live mouse and break its neck, right? And then cut it open and cut the liver out and then do all your stuff.
What?
I had no idea. I was like, how are we going to kill this mice or these mice? And the dude's like, all right, you pinch him behind the head and just yank its tail. And it
What?
immediately killed him. Yeah, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
You yank its tail? It breaks its neck by yanking the tail?
Yeah. Apparently, you got to hold them right behind the head. You probably got listeners right now that probably have snakes or something like that. They're like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. So,
All right.
anyways,
So
yeah,
yeah. So
that
they're.
stuff was cool. I enjoyed that. I like stats, even though that was math, but it was interesting
Oh
too.
yeah, I avoided that one. I had no
But
interest
yeah,
in
I
it.
mean, you had to take a whole array of science courses, and physics was right in the middle of it. So,
See, I don't know if that's necessary. You might like you go back in the history, right? You read about people who like, yeah, he taught himself how to be a lawyer, or he taught himself how to be
right.
a doctor. It's like, did they really have to take physics to become a doctor? Like, I feel like if you would have just pursued it, skipped physics, took in whatever, the MCATs or whatever it is you got to do to get into med school, you probably would have passed. You're just not gonna do well in the physics section, if there
I
even is
don't
one.
know. I don't know. Man, things
Yeah.
worked out all right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you don't seem to be on the side of the road begging for money and change or anything, so that's good. Yeah, you're.
I'm a positive kind of guy. That's what you'll find with me is I like to lift people up, find the good in things, and there's a lot of bad out there, man. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Twitter's a great example of that,
Oh
and
god, it's the worst place on it's the yeah,
it is
it
a
really is.
dumpster fire
Yeah,
sometimes,
it
right?
it is the absolute best of us because you can find some really great individuals on there, but it is an amplified cesspool of the worst.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what do you think drives a lot of that? I think the anonymity.
I think it's the
Yeah, yeah,
anonymity of it. Even people who have their name out there, like it's.
right.
I always used to say is like people become their own superhero on the internet with a script that they're writing every time they tweet something out. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like there's no accountability to it.
Well, you were talking, Eric, about this with who was it, Hannah Schaus in the last podcast. Some people just wake up and they want to pick a fight. You know,
That's also true. It's very
yeah.
true.
I mean, that's their mode
Yeah.
of operation, and sometimes they're getting paid for likes and clicks and things like that. So it
Yeah.
benefits them to create controversy, and both sides are guilty of that.
Oh,
Um,
totally. Absolutely.
and it's just it's up to us to kind of navigate that and say yeah, I'm going to buy into that, or no, I'm not going to buy into that. And so it's difficult, and as we're raising kids, I know you got a high school kid, right?
Yeah.
So keeping them not shielded from it, but addressing the way that they're going to be impacted by that is completely different than when you and
Oh
I
no.
grew up. So
Yeah.
I know I'm much older than you, but
I wouldn't say
still
much older.
dude, all right. I've passed the century or the half century mark. So
Okay.
yeah,
You get
yeah. And
there.
I feel it every day when I go out for a run. So
Yeah, it's weird because it is like a level of social intelligence that I think is a little different. And I think where people have struggled with this, because I remember this was a big part of when I went and did my master's is, you know, and this was before you hit the century mark, but there are the people who are above that age, right? I would say you're probably in the minority because most people your age or above, they have no idea how to interact on social media. They're terrible behind a computer, whereas my generation at least kind of started growing up with the evolution of it.
yeah,
And then now our kids, like they don't know anything but that. Right.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Pendulum
there is a different,
swung.
yeah. Cause and I think I really pushed my dad to get into, hey, get a smartphone, I bought him his first iPhone back when I was in Afghanistan, I think for his birthday or for Christmas in 2013.
Mhm.
I didn't really push him. I was like, hey man, explore some of this social media stuff. And now he's on Facebook and he does Instagram and all. I think my mom tried Twitter for about
Instagram.
a
Wow.
month. Yeah, my
Yeah.
mom is one of the ones. She's the last holdout. She's not getting into social media, which is good for her. But it took a while for my dad to kind of like, I had to explain certain things to him. Like, Dad, that's not real. Like he would share stuff instantly just because it's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, Dad, that's fake. That is literally fake. The definition before it was fake news. I'm like, that's fake news. That's not real. But then that's also on the other end, like we get into our kids and it's the same thing because they're getting inundated with all these messages and these, and you know, you look at a lot of people do it as jokes with the face swap or whatever. That's a very real thing, like creating content that's not real, but it looks so real that you don't know the difference between whether something's being fake or not. And us kind of being a little more savvy in the social media realm because we've existed in it for so long, but some people who haven't, they're very easily manipulated.
Oh yeah.
They buy into this stuff super easy. And that's what I'm kind of worried about with my daughter. I think the only thing she's really into at this point is like ferret videos on TikTok, which is cool. and like her YouTube stuff that she watches. Fortunately, she doesn't do anything, you know, she's, you know, I love her to death. And I say this to her all the time, but she's a nerd. She's not a kid I worry about. She's not like I was or my brother was when we were growing up. Total opposite.
Oh yeah.
Good. It's great.
Oh, believe me, I was mischievous growing up too. I share stories with the kids all the time. I was like, yeah, I used to do this. And they look at me wide eyed. They're like, really? So it's not bad stuff, but you know, it's like stuff we wouldn't do today, you know?
Oh, I know. Well, that's the other thing is like, I'm so reluctant. I remember, especially when she was little, the stuff my brother and I did growing up in the exact same neighborhood or house or whatever, I would never let her do.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't let her, you know, like my brother and I, we grew up next to a lake in Florida and, you know, it was no thoughts whatsoever about jumping in there and just swimming through it, pulling gators out of there left and right. There's snakes everywhere. Like, you never thought about that stuff. And so I just remember when she was growing up and she'd be around the water, I'm like, absolutely not. I got to keep her out of that lake. She's not allowed to walk around this. Like I've killed so many water moccasins around her. Just like, oh my God, if she gets out there, she's going to die. But it's weird. I don't even know where that came from because my parents, you know, they wanted us to be safe, but that's not something they thought about. And then now, like my generation, it's like, oh my God, my kid's going to die if she gets in the water with some fucking snake or an alligator. She's probably not, but
I completely relate, man. I'm the same way. It's like, I don't want to be a helicopter parent, but sometimes I can am. And, you know, it's that release point with the kids. So
I just want a phone call from either her school, her mom, somebody telling me your kid's in trouble. That's what I want. She's going on 16. She's never been in trouble. I'm just like, can you just do something?
Yeah. Dude.
Plus she's unemployed. She'll turn 16 this month and still doesn't have a job. It's ridiculous.
That's all right.
It's not. I had 2 jobs when I was 15.
Yeah, what were they? I'll tell you.
I was a first job ever was McDonald's. Awesome. And then I was it was called a slide guard. It was because we were too young to be lifeguards, but we were slide guards at a water park in Kissimmee, Florida called Water Mania, which is no longer there.
Oh, nice.
Greatest job in the world as a 15 and 16-year-old kid, Matt, because just to lay this out there, I know you're a God-loving and fearing man.
But
you know, women come down these big slides. Great. Yeah, exactly. You know, the bikini tops don't stay in place. It was great times as a 15, 16-year-old kid. Loved it. Loved every minute of it.
That's funny. Dude, my first job when I was 16 was hanging garage doors with one of my best buddies from high school. We did that through the hot Atlanta summer.
So that was a real job.
I tell you. So here's my real job. I say that all kids should have a manual labor job. It doesn't matter when you do it.
Yeah.
But I think
that's a
before
good thing.
you go to college or something like that, it'd be great to have some experience doing manual labor. You get a greater appreciation for it.
I absolutely 100% agree. And you know what? It's been made so much easier now because like you and I, you used to have to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
Or you went to a library and researched it or whatever. I was just telling my daughter this Sunday, every time when I talk to her, I'm like, what was she at? She was asking about, she's doing physics this semester. She wanted to do chemistry and she couldn't. And there's this guy, I think Dale Stark on Twitter, whose wife, you know, he's a, probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like his wife.
Kim with Amanda or something like that.
Yeah. Like his wife's now staying at home after being a tenured professor with chemistry. And she has her own website for chemistry. I'm like, well, what if he ever do chemistry? Got somebody who you can follow and do along. She's like, oh yeah, thanks, Dad. I'm like, yeah. You know, because when I was a kid, we didn't have YouTube to go research stuff. You had to learn, right? And I'm not saying it's not like, I'm not saying it's a worse form of learning. It's just like we talked about the physical labor stuff. if I want to know how to do something, I got a video on YouTube I can watch in like 2-3 minutes, and I can do any of this stuff, which is really cool. I'm just glad that stuff's still out there, because at some point the switch is going to get knocked off and people are going to have to actually know how to do this stuff again.
Right, there you
it's
go.
going to happen, man.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, prime example, I'm not handy, right? I'm simply not handy. I hire out, right? But, I was having issues with my lawnmower, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to take this bad boy apart. So I took my little Honda apart, and I was like, how do I get this thing back together again? YouTube, right? YouTube, pause it, do this, pause it, do this. And it's working like a champ now, right? So you're right. We didn't have those back then, but in their help for sure. Speaking of YouTube, you talk about Dale Stark and his wife. I mean, my kids are getting into that chemistry age too. And dude, I signed up for that and subscribed and all that cool stuff. And he was posting stuff out there. He was like, it's skyrocketed.
I know that is actually really cool and good for him. And a lot of it has to come with the fact that, hey, it's because of who he is, which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But those are the people that I wish we followed more, and not just, these dumbass fucking celebrities who've got 40 million followers and they look like, whatever. It's another fucking rant for another day. But no, like someone like he's a great example, right? He's a great example of someone who deserves the following he's got, and especially his wife. I mean, you putting content like that out there for people who can actually benefit from it. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Not to mention he was A-10 pilot, right?
What's
Did
that?
He fly a Thunderbolt? Did he fly?
Yeah, A-10. Yeah,
that's my favorite airplane, dude.
It's a lot of people's favorite airplane, especially the ones on the ground. Like it saved a lot of people over the saved a lot of people.
Well, they could come in for close high, right? So yeah, definitely.
All right, so like I said, Matt's got a pretty awesome biography here. He's probably led a pretty damn awesome life as well. So one of the things
all over the board, man, all over the board.
So you've got you do equine therapy.
Yeah, so equine therapy.
Equine. I can't speak, bro. I'm an idiot.
That dude. I should have just said horse therapy. I mean,
which you did. You put that in parentheses. I just wanted to kind of try and sound smart, but clearly I can't read. So
come on now. Whatever. I'll learn not to correct the host too. How about that? Right.
You can correct me all day, man. I'm just a facilitator. The bourbon is the host. I just sit here and hit record.
There you go. Speaking of which, I do have a little thing of Blanton's poured. So
boy, that's the spirit, man. Yeah, so it's funny, man, because Blanton's, for what it is, for people who don't know, like I said, it was the original single barrel in terms of marketing. It was from Buffalo Trace. They're the first ones to do it. But like everything else, Buffalo Trace in this era since like 2012 and on is just exorbitant amount of pricing, and you can only really find it. I'm out in California, so I'm fortunate where I can find a lot of stuff. Sometimes I've got some good relationships with some liquor store owners, because that's really the only way to get any of this stuff at a reasonable price at this point.
Yeah,
but sure. You walk into any store and Bland's is going to be going for 150 and up, but the Rayleigh's, the grocery store next to me, it's very rare to see it, but the 2 times I have gone in there and see it, they sell it for $10 above MSRP for $64. And that one that I sent you was one I bought from them a year and a half ago. I just don't drink it because I have enough of it. I don't, I just, whatever. So I was like, this is perfect. I'll give this away. Oh. The horse thing ties in greatly, right? Because Blanton's, they and what's really cool is about Blanton's and their toppers, they have that horse with a letter, right? Different, and the horse is in a different stride on every one as it spells out the word Blanton's. I don't know what letter did you get?
Let's see. The eyes get worse.
It's at the very back, at the back foot.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, maybe the other side. Oh, here we go. Oh.
You got an O?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. Okay. Never seen one of those. That's cool. So you got the O, right? So in that stopper, the horse is in a different position and a stride with every letter. But it's made by this high school for the blind somewhere out there in Kentucky. They're the ones who make all of those stoppers. So it's really cool what they do. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah. It's Bland's got the Buffalo Trace. All of the stuff they do has a really cool story and legend behind it. But yeah, so that's where we are with that stuff. I'm glad you got it. I don't know how easy it is to find in Georgia.
That was such a cool surprise. I'm sitting there, we're watching like a Hallmark movie or something, and I'm sitting there checking my feed and yeah, go for it, right? So I'm checking my feed. I was like, what just happened here, right? So and then I was like researching it, and I was like, wait a minute, that really? I was having to zoom in on the picture, So kudos, man. That
Absolutely,
really,
man.
really
Yeah.
cool. So I appreciate it.
Now you're subject to my awful tweets in the meantime, but that's good. I'm glad you got
It's
the
all
bottle.
good.
I'm glad it showed up because I was worrying, man.
You were?
Yeah, I think I sent it and then I was like, wait a minute, this thing was supposed to be there. I thought like 3 days before it actually showed up, but then I was wrong.
No, no,
That's when
no.
I messaged you. I was just like, let me make
Yeah.
sure this got to him because the last thing I want is, the way I send them as trophies, right? So I just want to make sure
Yeah.
the trophies actually arrive and they don't get
No, I
intercepted
did.
by, as Bill Clinton used to say on Saturday Night Live character, intercepted by warlords, right? They come in and
That's right.
you never know when the warlord is going to finally take one of those trophies out of the package system.
They
So I was just
could,
making
yeah.
sure that didn't happen.
And it's not going to spray glitter or anything like that. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Right.
tell me about the equine. I say it again. Horse therapy.
Horse therapy.
Yeah, tell me
Yeah.
about that, man.
So no, this is cool, man. So I've been around horses all my life, and in fact, I got a picture right above on the wall over here with me,
Okay.
like 7 years old, sitting on a horse that we had growing up. Now we lived in kind of a suburb of Atlanta, so you're not going to have a horse in your backyard, right? But not far, about 5 or 10 miles outside of Atlanta or Marietta, where I grew up. There was a farm and we had a horse out there. We'd go out on the weekends and ride them and things like that. So quarter horse, always been around horses, loved horses. So this whole thread continued. Well, had a sister that studied equine medicine at University of Georgia. She became a vet, moved down to Australia, married a guy that trains racehorses down there. So horse train continues. Well, I continue to watch them racing, learn more about horses and what they can do. Well, it kind of intersected, and you'll get a kick out of this, with PTSD for soldiers returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, is that they used horses to kind of help with that PTSD. And now, not only do they work with them on that, but they work with kids that might have cerebral palsy and things like that. So when I was volunteering as a hippotherapy person, it really was just walking alongside a kid that was riding on a horse. We had a lead and you had two people on the side holding them. And here's a cool thing, man. When they sit on that horse, the movement of the horse kind of stimulates their muscle movement as well. And so that's a form of PT or therapy for them.
Oh, wow.
Not only in terms of physical therapy, but the connection between horses and rider is really formed there. And that's why they would use horses for PTSD.
That's awesome.
You ever tried to make a horse move, like pull them across or try?
No, I have absolutely not. I haven't. No.
Yeah. So, maybe your listeners have, but, when you're trying to get a horse move, they're not going to move until they trust you. They're a prey animal, which means that they're on high alert all the time. Like their ears are always going. You ever notice that? And they're always alert because they're the prey. They have to be alert in order to stay alive. Well, that kind of circles around to forming a connection with a rider. They have to form that trust, right? So in order to form that trust, you think, oh, I can make this, 3,000-pound animal move or however much they weigh, but you can't until you change your perspective, or internally, you have to change something about you, because that horse is picking up more than you realize, right? When they're fearful, they're going to recognize that you're fearful and they're not going to move because they're not going to trust you. So that's how the whole therapy thing works. And so I got really involved in that, big time into, vets are coming back and trying to assimilate back into society and trying to figure out, where I can support that. I didn't serve, but I have family members, in years past that I had. And so, I'm a big supporter of that. And so I got involved with this group called Team Red, White, and Blue. And they're big on exercise, right?
Yeah, I used to do the run stuff with them in Kuwait.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So I got to know them when they first started. This was like, I don't know, 2012 or 13, but working with Mike Irwin and just knowing what that guy was doing. And So I got really involved in that, and so that led to the whole horse therapy thing. And yeah, I still do that every now and then. We were at the beach a couple of weeks ago, and we actually had an opportunity to ride horses on the beach, which was really cool. I've never done that
Yeah,
before, but
that is cool.
it just the feel of the horse, and you can see how that might help those kids that are going through cerebral palsy and things like that. So,
That's
but
awesome.
yeah,
Now this
yeah,
might
man.
be a year and a half ago, it might be a question more worth asking. Now he's, our buddy Braxton's so popular. Do you
Mhm.
follow Braxton McCoy on Twitter?
I do not. I heard you and
What? Oh, look at this. I found someone who doesn't know who the hell Braxton
yeah,
is. All
there
right.
you
So,
go.
all right. So I will text him and let him know about you, but also you should follow him, and then you guys may be able to work something out with that specifically, what you just talked about, because he does a lot for vets. His book's incredible. I would always encourage you to buy and read that. But Braxton's a great dude. He does a lot, but he breaks horses. That's what he does out in Idaho.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he cool dude. But yeah, definitely that's something. Again, I'll text him, and then I'll get with you tomorrow and kind of try and put you in touch with him, because you guys might be able to
awesome.
pull something off on that. Uh, you
There's a movie called The Mustang. You ever seen that movie? It was
I
out a
haven't. No.
couple years ago, and it talks about these inmates, and that's basically what they did. They pulled Mustangs in, the wild horses, and they made
Mhm.
them break those horses.
Oh wow.
And they figured out that, hey, I have to change before I can make this horse change. And it was really cool to see that inner transformation, but also the outward connection
Yeah.
between man and horse. So, but neat, man.
Yeah. You talk about horse racing. You watch like Kentucky Derby and all that stuff?
Yeah, I saw that whole
Yeah, Medina
Medina
Spirit
Spirit.
just died. That's fucking
It,
nuts.
everybody's like, they need to shut the track down. I have no idea, and
Well,
saying
from what I heard, I mean, I don't know. I just heard it in the
I don't know
background.
all the
I
details.
heard the horse died from a heart attack or something,
Mm-hmm.
allegedly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just sad. It was just sad. And there's a good side and a dark side to everything. And I don't know all the details of the dark sides of horse racing. And part of me is like, well, is that good? But when you see them running like that, and it seems so natural to them
Yeah.
to want to run. I don't know. But it's really cool to see what they do and how they do it. And man, they're just such powerful animals. It's
Yeah,
really,
it blows my mind that they can run as fast as they do run for that
mm.
long. It's one
Oh
thing for
yeah,
like a sprint, right? Oh wow, the horse ran 40 miles an hour. I'm like, yeah, but the horse ran that for a mile. That's
I
insane.
know,
It's
I
insane.
know.
Like,
Dude, my brother-in-law, he had a horse that won several years ago, and dude, this was like, how when you're watching the Derby, it's one lap around, right?
yep.
So this was like, all right, start way over here, run down that front stretch, and then do another lap. So it's like 2 laps. He had a horse that won a race that was that long. And I mean, they were going, it wasn't a blistering pace, but it's still a fast race. And to see them run that long, it's amazing.
Yeah, because like I said, there's a difference between a sprint and
Yeah.
I don't know. That's obviously not like, some vast long distance, but it's still a sprint. It's a sprint for them, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, for them to run less than 2 minutes to run a mile, that's insane. That's just
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. And then but yeah, it's like you said, they actually look like they really enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
I
really
just,
cool thing to see. I enjoy betting on it because I like to win money.
you any good at it?
Am I any good at? Not horses,
Yeah.
no. I would not. No, I only bet those three main ones what is it? The Belmont,
You won't-
Preakness, and the
Oh
Kentucky
yeah,
Derby.
yeah.
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 I think we bet
Right.
on Medina Spirit. We either bet on it or there was one of the horses was Bourbon something
Mm-hmm.
that we bet on. And I think
You
we
have
missed
to,
in the
right?
first race.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember the race that Medina Spirit won.
Yeah.
I think the Bourbon one got edged out by Medina Spirit at the end, and the Bourbon, whatever horse that was, I can't remember the full name, went from placing, I think placing is third place or showing
Yeah.
as third place to fourth.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Show.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but no, that was cool. I again though, that is crazy. Unfortunately, that and it's always like you said though. Every time something happens, it's like, oh, shut down the track, shut down. It's like you guys don't know the whole story. Let's
Yeah. Very,
pump the
very.
brakes a little bit on that. But yeah, I don't know. That does suck, and unfortunately, it does seem to happen more times than not. Because the horse, like the horse get suspended or They took away the
Yeah,
wind.
there was something about that. I don't know all the details of that. There might have been something about it, but yeah.
Yeah. No, horses they're amazing. My daughter loves riding them. You mentioned the beach. Like fiance, she took my daughter last year with one of her friends. They do horse riding on. I want to say it's down at Bodega Bay here in California,
Yeah,
Bay Area.
cool.
But they take them down onto the actual sand, onto the beach. They ride a little bit on
Yeah,
the beach and they come up. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
that's where we were. We were down in Florida, near Port St. Joe's, Cape San Blas, and dude, it's awesome out there. I mean, we're like right on the water and everything. You don't have the huge waves either, so it's
Yeah.
kind of nice and
Pretty
relaxing.
nice. Yeah. If you're on the Gulf side in Florida, I tell you, it's the best. The water's
Yeah,
super warm. There's no
yeah,
waves, just chilling.
yeah.
It's been a while. All right, man. Matt, tell me about this book, brother. Tell me. So we got Finding His Story in History. How'd you end up writing this good thing?
Yeah, so fun story here. So obviously always like trivia, always like history. You know, we're typical guys. We store a bunch of useless information, correct?
Trust me.
Yeah, exactly. We got to find some way to get it out there,
Yeah.
right? So what happened here was we had a church plant. We had a new location for our church that we were attending, and they wanted me to kind of write the newsletter for it. You start with things like, this is happening this Sunday, and we got the Easter egg hunt coming up and all that fun stuff. But I wanted to make it a little bit more engaging because, as you know, people get those newsletters and they're like, delete. And yeah, exactly. Not even gonna read. Yeah, exactly. Guilty. So what I wanted to do is create something fun and maybe different, right? So I started with this whole idea of this day in history with a biblical slant. And the whole idea here is, all right, let's find something fun that happened on this particular day that when I was sending out the newsletter, and then tie it back to some piece of scripture, right? And so it might be somebody was born on a certain day. It might be a certain event that happened that particular day. A lot of different directions you could take it. Inventions were big, but you'll find a lot of themes for me. I love baseball, so baseball's in there a lot. I love music, so music's in there, art's in there. The whole idea is, all right, let's start with that. This is what happened on this day in history, and then connect it to something in the Bible, some piece of scripture, and then maybe give people an idea or an awareness that, hey, when these events happen, even though they may appear mundane, I look at it as God's fingerprints are on that, right? And I look at it as we can raise our awareness of our connection with others in that manner. And it's real light. It's not a deep theological journey or anything like that. It's really just designed to introduce people to a relationship, right? And it doesn't have to, it's just hey, let's have some questions at the end. Hey, did you think about this, or did you think about that? So that's the whole idea, man. I mean, give you an example, like I don't know, what's today?
No, that's what I was about to ask you. You said trivia. No, don't look. I was going to ask you what would you do
I
on
don't
December
know.
7th? I'll give you a hint.
Oh, this is a good one, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll give you a hint. You did not do Pearl Harbor. So that's
no,
good.
I didn't do Pearl Harbor. So, that's certainly a poignant event, right?
Yep.
And one we want to remember, and there are definitely good ways to remember that, and probably better ways. And now I went in a different tangent on the 7th. I went with, was it Larry Bird's birthday?
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Larry Bird.
Yeah. So Larry's nickname was Basketball Jesus, right? So that this is where it starts to tie in. You ever heard that? You ever heard Larry?
I have, and he had the mustache too when he was early.
He had it just like you, man.
Yeah, early on. I got to get rid of this thing in another week or so.
Right.
I'm just doing it to annoy my daughter.
The white and green shorty shorts.
Yeah. Larry Legend, Basketball Jesus.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. So the idea there, the tie-in would be, basketball came so easy to Larry Bird that people called him Basketball Jesus. They wanted to be around him. They wanted to learn from him. And so that's the connection in the scripture, is that, we should be like that we should be full of the word and full of gospel, that, people look at us and they're like, oh, he just does it without even thinking. Right. So that's the idea on that one. So.
Yeah,
And the
but you
book is
say
full
that
of
though,
it.
because that reminds me of, I was saying it jokingly, but it was another thing before the profanity stuff on the Pat McAfee thing was he was talking about, and it may not have been him, it may have been his guest or somebody else on a show with him speaking, but he said, if that's your belief, and he's talking about in generalities, like someone such as yourself who's, religious or spiritual, if those are your beliefs, you should take those and you should challenge them, right? You should go out into society and challenge them, because if you still foster those beliefs in the face of some sort of challenge, whether it be physical or intellectual, and you still believe it, well, then there you go. You just made your beliefs that much stronger, right? And that's
Yeah,
part of like the free will that God's given to everybody is like,
that's
hey,
right.
you don't
That's right.
you don't have to be a spiritual, a faithful, a religious, because this is a large world and everyone's got beliefs into everything and they've all got their own forms of stuff. But
Mhm.
regardless of what they are, you should challenge them. You should use some sort of interaction with others to either solidify or potentially change your views and beliefs, right? Based on what those interactions are. Um, and that's what I think, because I'll be honest with you, Matt. I'm not a religious person. I've always been very spiritual, and that's based on. So we talk about getting sent to the sent to the principal in first grade. So I think that the pinnacle of my poor behavior was in sixth grade. Right, I got pulled out of school. My mom sent me to a Christian school, the Kissimmee Christian Academy, once upon a time, to finish my
Nice.
last half of the sixth grade.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't get like overly religious or anything, but I had a greater appreciation for the church, for God, those things, right?
Yeah,
And every one of
yeah.
my classmates was another bad kid. Like there was no actual good kids in this school. It was like I felt like what this in the moment I was just like, oh, what am I doing here? But when I look back on, I was like, that school, because I can still see the administrator or whatever. I can't remember his name, but I can see his face clear as day. And he had the church and then he did the school throughout the week. And I
Mhm.
just look back on it and appreciate it. And because of that's the sole reason why it's to this day I still pray every night. I
Awesome.
still do
Yeah.
that. Like, and
Yeah.
in big moments or whatever, or for my family,
Yeah.
I still pray. And it's because of that time in sixth grade. Like, everything before that, like I went to church and all, but it never stuck. Right. But
Mhm.
for whatever reason, that's that one semester I did there in my sixth grade. That was kind of the catalyst for that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's why I say, like, I'm not religious. I'll go to church on holidays or stuff with my family, but um, there's a form of like the organization that I don't really particularly prescribe to.
Hey,
I respect
yeah.
the history of it, right?
Sure.
Every time I'm in a church, like I was just in a friend's wedding in this church in San Francisco. It's been around since I think 1849. Like it just blows you away to be inside that building, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that stuff
Yeah.
to me still speaks to me very strongly. But
Sure.
you know, I prefer my internal dialogues with the creator as
Yep.
opposed to sitting in a pew and doing that each week. And I don't denigrate those who do. I think it's important for whatever it
No.
is you try and find.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I don't denigrate others that think differently than me. I think that that makes the fabric of this world that we live in. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes it so rich, right? Is that there are people with differing views or opinions or even religions, and it opens your eyes to what's around you if we choose, right?
Right.
Too often, I think we kind of get in our own bubble or vacuum, and we don't encourage or
Twitter.
embrace those conversations, huh?
That's Twitter.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're picking and choosing who you want to follow and
Yep.
who you want to see, right?
Create
You're
your own little
building
echo
your back.
chamber.
Yeah, yeah. So, how do you expect to really broaden your viewpoints if that's what you're creating
Right.
around you? And so I completely respect what you said. I mean, I think it's spot on, man. I think that that's the way that we kind of come together as a community and accept differing views in a more respectable manner, if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
And if we get into nature, right? Nature, when you have a sphere, a circle, there's no perfect circles in nature, right? But if
right.
you have a circle, or what do we believe? The circle, it goes around and it comes full circle, right? Everything is kind of interlocked within that circle, or is intertwined and kind of codependent on each other, because the circle connects everything. And, not to get too corny here, but that's kind of the earth, right? Our earth is
Yeah.
one big giant fucking circle at the end of the day. Let's not get too deep into, oh, well, there's mountains. I get it. Right. But at the end of the day, it's a circle. And
Yeah.
so, I think that's why wherever you go, and I've been blessed through the military to be on all countries all over this planet and see and interact in different cultures and religions. But at the end of the day, despite all those differences between us here in the West, or you get over into the East, or you get into the Middle East, we're all connected, man. It all comes back full circle, and you don't have to try and impose your view on the rest of the world, but you should pull and find the things that you do have in common and the respects for those things, because where people are very religious here, they're very religious over in other parts of the world. It's just not, you just might not think the same things, but you can still respect the fact that you have that same amount of faith in your belief. Right. And that's what I think is, that's been my biggest takeaway about every place I've been fortunate enough to go and come back from, is that, at the end of the day, what I always took away from, especially my first time in Iraq, is that you remove everything that were there, all the conflict and everything. It's still just parents taking care of their kids and wanting the best for them. Like, that's what it is. Like, that's ultimately, and you can remove religion, you can remove every layer of everything that's some sort of adversity or trial in their lives. And at the end of the day, you still have parents with kids who just want the best for them and they want them to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
That's the human element of it, right?
Changes the narrative quickly, doesn't it?
Does, man. I just remember, so I spent most of my time in Baghdad in 2003 on the airport there in Baghdad. And we used to go out of this one gate before it became unsafe, because it turned it a suicide bombing. But before that, we used to go outside of this gate, and there was always these vendors, selling food. And I just remember this one specific vendor, and this isn't uncommon to see the mustaches or whatever in Iraq, but usually you see the mustache and the beards, right? Well, this one guy, I just remember he was probably like mid 40s, which is what my dad was at the time. He had this big thick mustache like my dad, but he didn't have a beard. And my dad doesn't either, but he's always had the mustache. So I immediately just identified with this dude. And I remember through our interpreter, we talked to him, and his whole thing was just like, he was not a Ba'ath Party member like Saddam was, right? He was, he was somebody who felt more confident after the fall of Saddam to get out there and try and make money more legitimately. But yeah, all I remember him saying is like, he just wanted the best for his kids. And he had a 5 and a 7-year-old kid. Right. And I just remember like, I feel like I was talking to the Iraqi version of my father. That's what I felt like. Like, that dude was just out there. And that was my dad. My dad worked his fucking ass off. He always did extra shifts. He always did everything extra he could to provide for my brother and I. And so I remember feeling that way about this guy. And I don't know whatever happened to him after that, because like I said, eventually we couldn't go out there anymore. But I still see that dude's face as clear as I'm looking at you right now, Matt. Like, that's what I see and identified with. And I feel like my experience, especially then, because I was 22, I think, when I got to Iraq, like, that's when I grew up. Like, that whole time, my 16 months over there is when I really grew up. And there was a lot of this life and world, especially where I came from, that I took for granted, until you get to see the other side of how things are. But I needed to, because if I didn't, who knows where I'd be and what I'd be doing or what I'd be thinking. And I definitely wouldn't be what I am or who I am today. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that, especially when it comes to religion, because we could use that as a big dividing point, but I think you need to look through it and kind of see the faith aspects of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right, man. That's a great way to look at it and view it. I had to, just kind of figure it out, right? That, it's bigger than us, right? Things out there, we should strive for things that are bigger than us, and not necessarily think of us first. And for you, I mean, I look at the sacrifice that you and other service members make, and going on those deployments. I mean, you are put in that. For those of us here, we may have gone through something different, but maybe achieved the same thing in terms of that perspective.
Yeah.
Right. But there might be examples of, hey, I volunteered at, maybe a homeless shelter or something like that. But just to get you outside of the comfort zone is step number one. And that's kind of a crappy analogy to compare what you guys did in terms of the deployments overseas.
Service, however you serve, right? It is.
Yeah.
You don't
Well,
have to.
that's
You
it.
don't,
That's the phrase is serve.
yeah.
And it can take any kind of different, but you're right. That's a perfect word for it,
Yeah.
because when you serve, you put others before yourself. And I think
Right.
when you do that, then you accomplish and you achieve so much more than
Mhm.
you probably even thought you could do
Oh yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the joy of receiving, and not necessarily, or the joy of giving and not receiving, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's another thing. Like I throughout my, I think graduate studies is when I first heard the word, and I've heard it throughout my career since. But there's a term called servant leadership, right? And a lot of
Mhm.
people get confused and they think, oh, when you're the leader, you're in charge. It's like, yeah, there's implied authority, and then there's earned authority, right? But when you're a servant
Right.
leader, you should be doing everything you can for those that you're charged with leading. Your
Yeah.
subordinates, like you should do everything for them to make their lives and their jobs, or whatever it is, in whatever realm it is you do that in, you should do whatever you can to make it easier. And that's servant leadership. But that also comes down to just doing something for someone else.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be a formal role, but it's what you're talking about. So maybe you went and did stuff at a homeless shelter, or you volunteered in your community. That's servitude right there. That's serving the community, that's serving the greater good. And that makes ultimately where you're at and what you're doing, it makes it infinitely better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people lose track of how many ways you can actually do this on a daily basis. You really
Yep.
can, if we just get outside of ourselves. But yeah, not to harp on too much on that, because at the end of the day, I'm not perfect, right? There are plenty of days where I'm selfish and I'm like, man, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not patient, or it could be anything, right? But yeah, I think when we do that, I don't know, it helps everyone, right? Helps your mood for one thing, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're rage filled or angry, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Speaking of mood, I wonder how your mood was last weekend, since you said you're a
oh, come
Georgia
on, you had
Bulldog
to go
fan.
there.
Yeah,
You
I
had
mean,
to
we're
go
just
there.
going down the bio, man. That we're just at that next line where it says you're a
Well,
Bulldog.
when I
I'm a
wrote
Michigan
it,
fan, so we got a date
oh,
coming
you're a
up, my
Michigan
friend.
fan. You're a
Yeah, I
Michigan
grew up a
fan.
Michigan fan. Obviously,
Hold
I
that
cheer
thought.
more for UCF, since that's my alma mater at this point, and they're decent at football. But yeah, grew
Ah,
up a Michigan fan, so and they're actually in
see,
the
look.
playoff finally
I know.
after all these years.
Wait. Back up for just a second. You say UCF, so you were a
Yeah.
UCF
Yeah, I
fan? Weren't
graduated.
they
I
the
got my
ones that?
bachelor's from UCF. So
So now weren't they? If you're gonna poke, right? Weren't they the ones that went undefeated, but yet still didn't make the BCS playoff, or was it the playoff at that time, or was that
yeah,
South Florida?
I think they ended up being fifth or sixth in the
Yeah,
final rank, and then they played Auburn, and they beat Auburn.
that's
And
right.
so
That's right.
not only did they declare themselves the national champions, but I can't remember what group it was. They were the AP actually
Oh,
officially
I
declared
saw
them.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were officially declared the national champions by the AP, which was great because they beat Auburn, and Auburn that year beat Alabama, who ultimately ended up winning the national title. So there you go.
See,
Undefeated 2017 national champs, University of Central Florida. What up?
nice.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So
Well,
now
yeah.
this year, UCF 8-4. They're about to play Florida, which is great, but they don't have a quarterback. I don't think Florida has a coach yet. I'm not watching that game.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
worth it. They're
The damn
rebuilding. It's
ultimate
been
experience.
they're
Yeah. Yeah.
rebuilding. But I am excited for Michigan and Georgia. I think it's kind of silly that, you know, I don't know, man. Like, I want Georgia there because I feel like Georgia's better, but they're in the same position that kind of UCF is. They don't really have a quarterback they can trust.
So,
And then
did you
like this is
watch
the
the
year. I
game?
was like, come on, you gotta beat Alabama. They're so inconsistent this year. And then they get rolled, man. And now they're
Oh,
probably gonna end up
they
playing them again in the national title because Alabama's gonna blow the doors off of Cincinnati. Georgia
yeah.
will probably beat Michigan because Michigan doesn't have a quarterback either. And so I think you're just gonna get Georgia and Alabama in the national title games on a neutral turf somewhere. And I really don't know how it goes. I want Georgia to win it. Don't get me wrong. Like Georgia's been going through this every year since 1980, man. Like
It's the Atlanta sports curse, man. I mean, it's the Georgia
you
sports
just
curse.
won the
I
World
mean,
Series, bro. Come
but
on. What do you mean?
hey, I know that. I know that. But man, look at how long it took, right? So, anyways,
I'll be honest.
dude, we
Like
are.
I grew up in baseball. I played a little bit in college, but yeah, I grew up in that era as a Giants and early before that, before Bonds went to the Giants, I was a huge Pirates fan. I still remember fucking Sid Bream, 1992, man.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
I
Atlanta
remember.
should have won,
Oh,
like, at least Atlanta to me was like they did win one, but they were like the Buffalo Bills of football.
yeah, we
They had
were.
such a
Yeah. Oh
great
yeah.
team. They had four
Totally.
Hall of Fame
Totally.
pitchers and they only won that one World Series, and they should have won so much more. I mean, you had
So
literally,
you go to our stadiums and you see all the flags and they're all this one color, and then we got this one little red one, and then the rest are blue again. And
it's all pennants and not World Series pennants.
but you know what? We're proud of the boys, man. They really scrapped it together this year. I mean, the front office and all those guys. I mean,
You know,
God, man.
was it Acuna? Is that who they lost? Was that
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
Like when they lost, I feel bad for that dude because like he's gonna get a ring, but you can't wear that, can you? You can't wear that ring. You didn't.
Yeah, no, he totally can. Are you kidding? So, Atlanta sports fan here. I'm biased, but man, the beginning of the season, they wouldn't have been in position where they were without him. He was having an MVP year.
Oh no, he
No
was, but they were
question about it.
500 before he got hurt, man. It's
Yeah,
not like they were doing anything.
yeah,
They're
but
in the
all
worst
right.
division in the baseball.
So here's the gushy part of me, right? So in the postseason, did you see the guy there? I mean, his presence as a cheerleader on the bench is just as important as in
I
some
know. I'm
ways.
just saying
being on the
personally,
field.
like, as a player,
I know
I
I'm
would have a
picking
hard
at you,
time.
man.
I would have a hard time wearing it knowing I didn't get to play. Like and it's nothing against him. I just feel like he's got to feel like a certain kind of way. Like, God damn. Like you just said, he probably could have been the MVP if he was healthy. And it's like, it didn't even matter in the end because this team still went on and won. And they
Well, you
shouldn't
know
have.
who else got a ring? Who else got a ring was Pablo, the panda. He got a ring
I know.
because he was
From the
on the
Giants.
team.
You're
Up
welcome.
until,
You're welcome.
yeah.
From the Giants. Yeah,
No, well,
Matt, I was in Oracle Park for game 5 when Wilmer Flores did not swing at that strike 3 and the Dodgers won. Dude, we
oh,
sat
man,
there.
really?
We just sat there for like 30 minutes, just like, is this
I
gonna
would
be
have
over? They're
too.
not reviewing it. And then I went to Twitter like 2 minutes after that call, and I was like, he didn't swing. Oh my God, he really didn't swing. And because
Dude, that was your mistake. You should have never gone to Twitter, man.
oh, you had no
So
choice. And then I
those are,
walked out
yeah.
because, whether it's the Giants or the Dodgers state, like there's always a lot of fans from each team there, man. It's fucking,
Yeah,
I
and
hate
y'all have bad blood together
I
between.
hate the Dodgers
Yeah,
fans, bro. Like
yeah.
they're all criminals, and it's crazy how they all manage to be out on parole at the same time. I don't understand it. They're fucking degenerates, all of them. If
Nice.
you're a Dodgers fan and you listen to this, you should unsubscribe. I'm just kidding. Don't.
Listen, Bill.
Yeah, no, my old commander, we're good friends. He's a good dude, but he's a huge Dodgers fan. He's from Southern California, and we just talk shit to each other all the time. But yeah, no, that was good. That was a great series. It just sucked because I did get to watch. I think like a month before the playoff. It was the last series where the Braves were here for San Francisco. I got to watch them play together. So it was nice to get to see both teams.
That was a good one for you guys.
It was good, but no, it was cool to see because even the Astros, I watched the Giants play the Astros this year and they beat the doors off of them. So it was nice. I got to see like the World Series teams at some point. I got to watch the best teams play.
Nice.
I went to a lot. I went to probably like 30 games this year, man. It was great.
Holy cow, man.
Yeah, it was. So I bought this little season ticket package for the outfield, and then I would always upgrade my tickets to like one of the suite levels because kind of like the suite levels, right? You got to enclosed. It's it's climate control.
Yeah.
There's a bullet bar.
Oh, nice.
Where I get my $16 barrel strength shots, but yeah.
Oh, geez, dude.
But sometimes it is pretty cool to like Oracle Park. I don't know. Have you ever been out to San Francisco and been to a Giants game?
I've never been to a game. I've been by there when it was called AT&T Park. So
okay, yeah,
many years ago. Yeah.
But there's no bad seats there, man. Like they're all.
No, I believe it. Yeah,
I love like I've been to just about every section. There's one section I want to get to this year on top of the wall, like right out there.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna do that this year and this season coming up. Other than that, I've been in every possible section and I just love it, man. I went actually the last series they played the Padres. I never saw him play the Padres, and I wanted to see Tatis Jr. play. So I got seats just behind home field or home plate. Tatis goes out and goes 4 for 4 that game. The Padres win. I was like, well, I got to see Tatis, but I also got to see him just fucking dominate because that dude's an incredible player for 22 years old. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, no, he is incredible.
So that was good.
When my son and I play the show, We do like the home run derby or whatever. We always fight over Tatis, and we always put it on the polo grounds because center field
the center
is
field
like
like 440
500
feet.
feet.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. And we're like, all right, who can hit it out of here? So
that's
yeah.
funny. Yeah, I play that game all the time. I got myself. I think I'm in it's 2029. I got back-to-back World Series. Yeah, I'm killing it right now, man. I love that game. Great game.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's 2029.
Baseball is huge. I love baseball. I tell you what. So tangent on this one. I grew up a Braves fan, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But then when I went to college, I went through what I would call cable shock. So growing up, we didn't have cable, right? We had like 3 channels, and one of them was TBS, where we watched wrestling.
Your local, TBS. You had your local cable network, though, man. Well, it's just like me. I used to watch a ton of Cubs games growing up because WGN.
So there you go. So when I went to college and I went through cable shock and I had all these channels, all I wanted to watch was WGN and the Weather Channel. So I don't know why the Weather Channel fascinated me, but it did, and I could spend hours there watching it. It's ridiculous. That's how my daughter. So anyways. So graduating from college, I think I sold a car or something. So I had a little bit of spending cash, and I was like, all right, I want to go to Wrigley. I want to see a game. So convinced my dad to take some time off. We went on probably one of the only father-son trips we ever went on, and went up, saw a Cubs game. They played the Braves. So we flew up on a plane that was full of like all these Atlanta people. And total great experience. Braves won. Then we eat dinner at Harry Carey's restaurant in Chicago that night. Nice. And like Mark Grace and Mike Moore.
I love Mark Grace.
One table over.
Why is Mark Grace not in the Hall of Fame? I love that dude, man.
I know, man.
He's like the Will Clark of the Giants. Like those two.
Yes.
Studs. But it's funny you say that. You said the father-son thing. So yeah, I just did father-daughter thing, right? September 11th. I took my daughter to Wrigley Field. We watched the Giants. Same story. It was September 11th. They had this amazing tribute for September 11th. But yeah, I flew into Chicago. I'm on a plane with a ton of Giants fans, because the Giants, they were in first place at the time and they were just holding on. But yeah, we went, go to Wrigley Field for the first time, watched the Giants blew the doors off of the Cubs. It's like 15-4. It was a great game to watch. But yeah, first game in Wrigley with my daughter. That was cool. And it's a good time. It's always fun when they win, right? You don't want your team to actually lose when you go watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
that's cool, man. The train took the subway back into the city. Like Wrigley's a cool spot. I probably should have went to a White Sox game. I didn't get around to it. It's not.
I've been to Chicago many times, and I've never been to a White Sox.
Really?
Game.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. In fact, my kid
stadium, right? Didn't they build like a new one back in the mid 2000s or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love. That's one of my things. My brother too is like, I love stadiums.
Like, you do?
Cool. Yeah. And I've been in some dumps, man. Like where the A's play here in Oakland.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
God, they've put some new little areas in there, but for the most part, the bones are still the bones, right? And it reminds me of the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, which is where the UCF used to play. And Citrus Bowl's still there. They still host bowl games every year, and they've renovated it. But man, it's a dump. It's in one of the worst areas of Orlando. It just sucks. And that's what the A's, the Coliseum reminds me of. It's like it was probably really cool back in the 50s and 60s when it was, new. But you look at these stadiums built now, man.
So what's going on with the A's there? Are they going to get the new stadium? Or are they going to move the team?
I honestly don't know. Like there's talks I've read in the media about, so Oakland has this waterfront area that they're trying to kind of reinvigorate and put a lot of money into, and they're putting restaurants and stuff down there. The problem is, man, it's just like the Warriors. They moved from, Oracle Arena they built their new arena in San Francisco across the bay or across the water. And it's the same thing. It's like all the money's in San Francisco. And then right on the other side of the water, you have Oakland. That's kind of just there where people that live in San Francisco who can't afford to, they work there. They live in Oakland. Right.
Right.
The problem with Oakland, man, it's just, there's not enough money. And I honestly I don't know enough about Oakland athletics ownership to know, what type of money they have.
Yeah.
But I have seen talks of like a possible waterfront park, kind of like the Giants have.
Sure.
But also, cool. Honestly, there's still, so where the Giants park is, about a block and a half behind that is where they built a new arena. And there's honestly space, man. I would not be surprised if there was some sort of deal to put a fucking A's park in a similar area because there's space to do it. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
that would not be the Oakland A's, and that wouldn't be conducive to the name. But the San
No.
Francisco 49ers don't play in San Francisco anymore. They play in fucking Santa Clara, which ain't
Right.
For
Exactly.
those who don't
Yeah.
know, it's not. All right.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing going on with the Bears in Chicago. Like the Bears owners just bought that Arlington Park or Arlington
Yeah.
Heights,
Yeah.
race park for 197 million or whatever. So they're going to build a new stadium because Soldier
Oh,
Field.
sure. Yeah.
Soldier Field's cool, and I know it's been renovated, and it's got a cool structure and a lot of history. But it's a fucking dump. Like there's like 2 entrances in. I remember I went to a game back in 2018. It literally took me like 45 minutes to get through the gate into the stadium. Like I'd never seen something so inefficient in my life.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the original franchise.
Minutes to get to your seats because of the stairs going down.
Well, it all. I didn't care because I was just caught up in the moment. Like, oh wow, I'm finally at Soldier Field. But in retrospect, and I look at all the other places I've been to, it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Hey, have you ever been to any of the MLS stadiums?
Well, so from when I was still living in Orlando, I went to an Orlando City game, but they were not in their new stadium. They were playing, I think they played in the Citrus Bowl. Yeah, they played in the Citrus Bowl at the time. They built a new stadium, like a new soccer specific stadium further downtown, but I've never been to that one. And I went to a San Jose Quakes game, but they play where Stanford football plays on the Stanford campus.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Some of these stadiums are like right on top of the field, so
I think that's how Orlando City's supposed to be. It's kind of like an underground bowl looking area. Yeah, it seems cool. It's just nothing close enough for me to go to.
Yeah.
So I made that mistake, right? We went to a San Jose Quakes game. We got free tickets. We drove to the game. We're there in plenty of time. We were like, all right, let's just drive onto the campus of Stanford and go park and get into the stadium that way, rather than parking on the street, which we should have done. By the time we were able to park through the traffic on the stadium, they were in the 67th minute of the game. That's how long it took. Yeah, it took like 4.5 hours to get from where we were at to where the game actually started. It was stupid. It was so dumb. Wow. Never will do that again. And it still costs like $40 to park. I'm like, there's like 10 minutes left in the game. You're charging me full price. What's going on?
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Crazy.
Yeah. No. Oh, well. It's fun. I mean, we've been to obviously some Atlanta United games here, and that's an experience and things like that. So it's a football stadium too, though. But the experience is still fun. So
where do they play in Atlanta? They don't play in the Dome, do they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah.
What? That seems way too big for soccer.
Nah, dude, they pack it out, man. The first couple of years when they were starting, and they've got 3 levels in the bins, and usually they just do the first 2 levels.
Crazy looking stadium. That's a crazy looking stadium from the outside.
It's awesome. It looks like the camera lens and all. Yeah. So you got to go, man. If you have an opportunity.
No, I went. So I took when I was drill sergeant at Fort Benning once upon a time in Georgia, I took my dad to a Bears Falcons Sunday night game. It was in 2009, I think. Cutler. They threw the touchdown. I think they threw a touchdown like on the last drive to win the game. But I remember like being in the old Atlanta stadium, and it just kind of solid. It's nothing against. This is not an indictment on Atlanta. This is just an indictment on the NFL and its fans in general. It's just like
careful.
They're the worst fans in the fucking all of sports. Or NFL fans, man. Like we were there, and I'm sitting there with my dad, and I felt embarrassed for him. Like these fans are just belligerent. Like we grew up going to Philly games in Philadelphia, Eagles, Phillies.
No.
NFL fans are the worst.
All the crap on that, man.
They're the worst of any sport. Basketball fans are great. Baseball fans are great. NFL fans are like, oh, it's my one chance of the week. Let me act like a drunk, belligerent idiot. And that's kind of what my experience was.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. So I was right. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. Well, NFL fans. I'm not saying Atlanta NFL.
No. I said no. I'm speaking on NFL fan. All NFL fans. If you go to a football game and you are a member of an opposing team's fan group. Not gonna be a good time for it. Now, the Chicago game I went to, I thought it was great. It was fine. It was fun. Everyone was cold and freezing, and they was playing against the Cowboys, and they actually won. And I hate the Cowboys, so we can all unite behind that.
Yeah.
But no, like, and it wasn't. It was just yeah, I prefer to watch NFL football at home on the couch
Yeah.
or in a
But
bar.
baseball, you go see baseball in person. I like that.
Oh, baseball,
Yeah.
absolutely in person. I could watch. I swear, if I had tickets for every game, I'd be at every game.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and some people think, oh, baseball's too slow and this and that.
yeah,
Dude,
you
I
know what
tell
they
you
are?
what.
Those are people who just are dumb. All right, you tell them
Yeah,
I said that, Matt.
I will. I will. But they don't have an appreciation for the history of baseball and I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
there's so
yeah.
many nuances that go on
Exactly.
that I don't think people really realize that. And you know that because you played that. But
Right.
as a casual observer, most people aren't going to recognize that. But man, I love that. That's what I love about Wrigley is like you look around, they're daggone people still scoring a baseball
Yeah,
game
yeah.
in that stadium.
That
You
I
don't
did
see that
notice that. Like,
anywhere.
there's two guys around me, one guy behind me and a guy in front of me. They're doing the old school scoring thing. Like,
Yeah. It's
very
like,
informed. Like, their fans were very knowledgeable fan
yeah,
group there, which
yeah,
I hear a lot about St. Louis as well. Like my
yep,
commander, I was telling you about that. He's a Dodgers fan. He lives in St. Louis now. He said same thing. Like St. Louis fans, they're still keeping
yep.
score, man, which I think is awesome. That's fucking cool because that's not easy. All right, people think that's
No,
easy. That's not. Like, you take it for granted. We play the game, the show, right? They show your little thing at the end. Like,
yeah,
no, that stuff's, you got to pay attention. That's good
that's
stuff,
right.
man.
That's right. You either got to look up quickly or you got to know exactly how to score it, right?
Yeah, you
So,
do. That's cool, man. That's what I love about baseball, is it because it is unlike any other sport, especially live is. And that's what my brother and I were talking about this over Thanksgiving, is like, you get into announcers, like NFL announcers. There's a lot of times where I just watch the game on mute, man. Like,
yeah.
but with baseball, there's so much time to fill. Is like, it takes talent to be a much more talent, I think, than being a football announcer or basketball, because there's constant
Yeah,
action. They just say what happens. Baseball, you got to fill the space. You look at the greats, like the Vin Scullys of the world, where they had this constantly tell a story in between pitches or in between innings. Like,
that's
that
right.
stuff's awesome. Like John Miller for the Giants. Like, those
Yeah,
are actual broadcasters where you take and you actually listen to them and you want to hear them just as much as you want to watch the game. And you can do both. Can't do it with
yeah,
football. You got to watch the fucking game, or basketball, which I haven't watched basketball in 3 years, but
yeah.
with football, like, yeah, I will literally, I'm more comfortable with no volume. I'd rather not hear anything and just watch the game.
The one thing I'll say, so I was watching Monday Night Football last night with Peyton and Eli.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I watch.
Kind
I'll
of
watch that now. I
entertaining.
don't watch the regular
Yeah.
broadcast, man.
I didn't even know there was another broadcast. I was telling the wife, I was like, this is much more exciting. And she was staying there watching it with me. I was like,
Yeah.
isn't it good?
Yeah.
I
That's
was
what I
like,
was watching.
Dave
Same thing.
Letterman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dave Letterman shows up. Who was the other guy that
yeah.
was on there?
Jack,
They had Joe
or,
Buck.
Joe Buck
Joe
showed
Buck
up.
was on there.
Yeah. And
Who
they
does
had
a lot of
some
baseball.
football
Joe
player. I
Buck's a
mean,
way better baseball announcer than he is football. I'm just saying.
yeah, yeah. Well, he gets that from his dad, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Jack Buck,
Jack
right?
Buck. Jack Buck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So wasn't he Cardinals, right? Or something
Yeah,
like
he
that.
was a Cardinals guy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
See, it all comes
yeah.
back to the fucking Cardinals at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Harry Carey, man, same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Right?
I see. That's where I remember WGN growing up. Fucking Harry Gary, and I went to Wrigley. You probably saw it too, where you got that statue of him out there with his
Oh
big
yeah,
ass fucking
yeah.
glasses, man.
Dude, I so that year after went on the father-son trip to Wrigley. So my dad passed away that year, and I was planning to go with him the following year. Well, turns out my sister followed up on this, and the catcher for the Cubs at the time was Rick Wilkins.
Yeah,
And
I remember
he had
Rick
gone
Wilkins. Yeah.
you know Rick?
I know who that guy Rick Wilkins is. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah, yeah.
his king.
So he had gone to Furman. So he actually called my sister because she told him the story about my dad passing and all that. And he was like, next time you're up, let me know. I'll take care of you. So she did that. She surprised me. We ended up in the dugout at Wrigley watching batting practice.
What?
I'm
That's
sitting there
awesome.
beside Billy Williams and Mark Parent, and Sammy
That's
comes in and
fucking
Grace
awesome,
comes
man.
in. And
That's
dude, I'm just
crazy.
like, this is awesome. I didn't even ask for autographs or anything. I was just soaking it in.
Oh yeah, I know. That's the best part is, man. Like, I like that, kind of like what you do. Like, I'm not an autograph person. I don't care about anything. I get some people do, but it's not my thing. Like, just taking that experience is, there's something we did for Veterans Day 2 years ago now at this point, when the Warriors opened up in their new stadium, is they let us come down and kind of hang out on the court for pregame and watch them do warm-ups and everything. And like, there's dudes 5 feet in front of you,
Yeah.
just warming up, shooting 3-pointers and stuff. And you're just sitting there watching it. Like, that's such, it's so cool to see people in their environment, right? And I get it. Nobody probably wants to see us do what we do on a daily basis. But when you watch from a sports perspective, most people are never going to get that. Like most people are never going to sit in a dugout and watch batting practice. Most people are going to sit courtside and watch these guys warm up. You don't get to experience that. And yes, I get it. Our sports are very unique for most of us in the United States. But there's sports all around the world that people still have that same amount of admiration and that the reverence for. But yeah, when you see that, like it's a whole nother, but it also shows you, at least from my perspective, it just shows you the gap between like how good I was and where I got to. And then like, you see these guys like, all right, that's a different level, man. Like,
yeah. So what position did you play, man?
Well, I went to college and pitched.
You did? Holy cow.
In high school, I played third base. My senior year, I moved to first. And when I wasn't playing, I pitched. And I would have preferred not to be a pitcher in college, but that's not how the talent.
You're righty or lefty?
I was a righty. Yeah.
All
right-hander.
All right.
Yeah,
you gotta come here and teach me how to throw a curveball, because my son, he keeps trying to figure it out, and I'm like, I don't know. You don't want to hurt your arm and all this stuff. You remember the helicopter?
Well, as long as you throw it the proper way, you can't hurt your arm.
I know, right? So I need you to come teach us.
Well, yeah, I got you. I'll make you a little video, man. Like curveball. Still remember the curveball drills? Because I learned the proper way to throw it when I got to college. No, I'll tell you what. You tell your son the best pitch to throw is a circle changeup. That is the absolute best pitch you can. Circle changeup. Yeah. I'll send you videos on both the curveball drill and then the circle changeup. But you know what? All you need in this world are two pitches, man. You need a fastball and a circle changeup. Everything else will take care. As long as you can hit your spots, you're good. All right. And that might have been my problem. That might have been my problem. I didn't know where it was going, man. Do you
still play? I mean,
I play softball. Play softball once a week, man. Yeah, there's me and my old CrossFit gym. We play softball once a week, and we're all stupid competitive. And most of us played past high school or some minor league ball, so we still take our weekly softball appearances very, very serious.
That's awesome, man.
Just lost the championship game to a fucking old team, though, man. It was ridiculous. A bunch of dudes your age just beat but they couldn't get them out. They just kept fucking knocking singles and doubles nonstop. We're like, what the fuck? And we lost by like 3 runs. That's all softball though, man. Like you don't need to be good. You just need to hit it in the right spot. That's all softball.
Dude, it's like tennis, man. Come on, right?
Exactly.
People out there playing tennis and they're just like
same. Yep. You look at these dudes. I'm like, that dude's 60. Double in the gap. I'm like, come on, man.
Right.
You can't do nothing about it because you're just not there physically to field the ball. But yeah, so that was the first time we've lost in 3 years, which really sucks. Because I hate losing more than anything. Doesn't matter what it is. I am a poor sport when it comes to losing. I'm graceful in winning, but there's nothing more I hate in life than losing in anything.
I would never take you for a poor loser. I mean, I've only known you for like 2 weeks, and I would never take you for a poor.
No, I am not a big fan of losing at all.
Okay. All right, well,
so that's man. Good. All right, let me see what else we got here on the old bio as I just picked up my little kitty here. We got Frank. Let me see if I can get him up on the camera. He usually makes there he is. There's Frank.
Oh
yeah. What's up, buddy?
Frank's a good looking cat, man.
He's a great looking cat. He's a tuxedo. We busted him out of the Napa County jail a couple months ago. He's great, man. He's a sweetheart. Awesome. And now he's gonna try and eat the mic. All right. How about you do that? Yeah, you were talking about, so your goal is to get into Wyoming and you like a bourbon from there. Before he sat on me, I was gonna get you because I got a Wyoming, their standard one, and then I got their Wyoming 100 proof. That's
you got the small batch,
yeah. So that's the stand, right? Okay, he just moved. So check this one out, right?
All right.
All right, buddy, you sit there. I'm pretty sure I've had this on the show, but so you got this one, which is the double cask, right?
Oh yeah.
So the double cask, finished in sherry cask. It's 100 proof. So it takes the proof up a notch, which actually, you know what? I'm going to finish with this, Matt, because I'm glad you brought it up because this stuff's amazing. Like they make great stuff. And I think a lot of people take it for granted because they're like, Wyoming. I'm like, yo, these guys make some good stuff.
You are absolutely right, man. I had one of my friends that's more of a bourbon connoisseur than me. I'm pretty much a novice when it comes to this stuff, right? He was like, "Oh no, that's probably they're probably just shipping stuff from Kentucky out there." And
No, they're
no,
not.
so, so you know what I did? I reached out to them and I said, "Set them straight, right?"
Yeah.
And the guy David DeFazio out there at Wyoming
Yeah.
Whiskey
Yeah.
got in
Yeah.
touch with my friend and told
Oh,
him the
really?
whole story.
That's
And
awesome.
I was like, "Told you." So
Yeah.
I'm true to them, man.
Yep.
I
I'll be
like their
driving
stuff.
through because I got my little cross country trip
You
coming up.
know,
Like
I
I said
saw
to
your
my daughter.
tweet, dude, and I was like, I'm going to talk to him the other night. I said that's where you need to stop. You need to stop and see Dave DeFazio over
I
there.
wish I could, man. I really do. I don't think I will be able to, but while I am
Kirby's
in the
kind of
state
out
of
of the way.
Wyoming, yeah, I will be
Yeah.
stopping in Wyoming though to pick up some stuff because I did it last year. I think that's where I found
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
Or one of these. I was able to pick up a few store picks in Utah. Just as soon as I got over the border into Wyoming, I was able to stop at a little spot, and there was a really great liquor store. I think I missed them by about a week on some of the stuff I really wanted, but they had some great store picks. Got some
Nice.
other stuff down there. But yeah, so that's I'm looking forward to it, man. Because there's nothing more I love than just driving and finding random spots. Because that's what if people want to try and find the bourbons that they can't find, you're not gonna get them at a fucking chain. You're just not.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
you got to have relationships. Unfortunately, not that it's unfortunate, but you have to have relationships in this world to get what you want, and especially when it comes to bourbon.
Sure. No,
Oh,
absolutely.
that stuff's so good. Here we go. All right.
Yeah, nice cinnamon in there and other stuff.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's the holiday looking, man? You guys sticking around local? What's going on?
Yeah, no, we're sticking around local.
Yeah.
Nothing exciting or anything like that. So just kind of hanging at the house, dude.
That's good.
So
Man.
how about you? Are you doing this cross country trip?
Well,
over the holiday?
I'm gonna drive out, to Illinois to return this ferret my daughter abandoned last year.
What's the ferret's name?
River.
Ah, that's a good name for a ferret.
Great names. Like I'll give my daughter credit. She comes up with good names. It should have been Demon because that's essentially what the fucking thing
Yeah.
is. She's a
Do
fucking
the
demon.
cats actually get along with the ferret?
They
or
do
you
get
have to
along with it. The ferret actually runs both of them. Like the ferret is in charge. I was surprised. We had a brief introduction last year with the older cat, and that went well. And then, like I said, Frank, he's fresh out of prison, so they get along, but Frank's really not interested. And
Frank don't want to piss anybody off because he don't want to go back to prison.
yeah. Frank's just a chiller, man. He just likes to chill, and the ferret always wants to like bite the Frank on the butt. It's pretty sad, but whatever. But yeah, so she'll be gone, and then I'm gonna come back. I should be back here like the 21st, I think, and then on the 23rd we're gonna fly over to Virginia and hang out there for Christmas, and then come back. Yeah,
nice. Cross country.
I'm in my countdown to get out of the fucking army. I can't wait. I'd leave tonight if I could, but I can't. So I am ready, man. Ready for the next chapter.
There you go. What is next chapter?
I have a real job, so that's good. I got a real job lined up with one of the guys. I don't know if you know Walt Nazoliak on Twitter. Another guy you should find.
I see. These are all people you need to let me know who I need to follow.
Yeah, no, I won't DM you tonight. I will tomorrow because tonight I'll just forget. But tomorrow I will.
It's fine.
Braxton and Walt, I'll put you in touch with them, especially Braxton, because I think there's potential for a good professional relationship there with what you do with the horse therapy and what he does with vets, etc. So
yeah, man.
If not, at worst case, you guys, you have a good little friendship going because I think you have a lot of common. So that'd be cool. But yeah, other than that, man, like I said, it'll be 20 years next month in the Army. I cannot wait to get out. Cannot wait. Counting down.
Awesome. Dude, that's a huge accomplishment though, Eric. I mean, look at it, man. 20 years. So and doing what you did, huh?
It's flown by. It really has. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's flown by, but I'm not trying to downplay it or anything, but I do remember like loving it. Like I was probably like in my second year. And I just remember, man, I love this shit. Man, I remember talking to one of my older senior non-commissioned officers, and he's like, you know what? You'll know when it's time to get out. I'm like, get out? Why the fuck would I ever want to get out? And now I know exactly what he meant, because it is time. It is time for me to get out, and I cannot wait. And I am counting down. Counting down the days, man.
You're itching and stirring because you need to be doing something else, and that's all right, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's what
okay.
it is, and like I said, I've done well, but my course has been run, and I am ready to move on.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So
Yeah,
no
dude.
Christmas plans, but are you a New Year's guy?
Nah, I mean, a little bit. We ring in the New Year's. We got some really, really close friends of ours. We'll probably get together with them in the neighborhood here. But funny story. So the reason I love Wyoming so much is these friends of ours. We went on this trip out west. We called it our Wild West adventure. We packed ourselves in a 15 passenger van.
Oh my goodness.
And drove 3,000 miles in this big circle around Colorado. Oh yeah, dude.
Wow, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I'll tell you what, driving across the country is an amazing experience. Last year I did it from here to Tennessee. Yeah. And the best part about it, as soon as I got into Tennessee, my transmission went out.
Oh,
it was great. It was great.
So what kind of mechanic did you attend there in Tennessee, right?
Oh my God. Man. No, I mean, the mechanic was fine. It's just, when because my truck wasn't
waiting until then.
Yeah. No, but I did come to find out that it, if I'm honest with myself, it was probably my fault for having automatic 4-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive the whole time. But whatever.
Oh,
well, it was in 4-wheel auto, and I thought that was the thing to do. And then I went and researched it, and I was like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. So yeah, but after 70,
you weren't towing anything, right?
No, so I think 79,000 miles, man, is about what it made before it went out. So now we're fine. It's brand new and good. It's been a good year. Looking forward to that drive coming up again. But so yeah, that was last year. But it's cool, man. Like, because I drove through. So I'm out here in California, Northern California, in the Bay Area. Drove up through Tahoe, through Reno, Salt Lake, Cheyenne. Last year I went through Colorado, Missouri, over to Tennessee. This year I'm going Salt Lake, Cheyenne, Omaha, Illinois, and then back. So it's just cool, man, to watch like the country change. Like I just remember going through Kansas last year, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, there's nothing there. It's just completely flat. There's nothing. I get I drive past Fort Riley. It was like the first time I saw trees in Kansas, and I'm like, wow, there's trees. And those are gone pretty quickly. It's
there's nothing from Kansas all the way to eastern Colorado until you get to Denver, and then the Rockies.
Like those show up. I drove through. I think what's that? Fort Collins, where all the breweries are. That was cool. Like, that was a cool little area. And then same thing though. Like, like I remember when I left Denver and I started driving, I'm like, wow, look at these giant fucking mountains in my rear view. Those were pretty cool.
That's right. Yeah, and then you get to the Red Rocks.
I don't think I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I did or not. Went through Nebraska last year. I may have, but I'm curious to see how Omaha looks. That's where I'll be stopping one night. I mean, I already know how Wyoming is it's just windy.
It is.
Just wind blowing across the road, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful scenery, man. Especially once you get through Salt Lake and you get up through those mountains. It's fucking awesome. Then I'm coming back through Vegas and coming south because I'm trying to avoid Tahoe.
Is that when you're going to the game or no? Different time?
No, I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to watch a game in Vegas on the 20th. They're playing the Vikings, the Bears.
Okay.
It'll be it's a Monday night game, but I'm specifically going to Vegas this time on the way back to avoid having to go through Reno and Tahoe, because I'm already missing the snow this time.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I didn't make the mistake. I just didn't know. Like, I think the second year I was out here, I drove through Reno and I just escaped like a massive fucking snowstorm. Like, I know Reno and Tahoe enough to know that you don't want to get stuck there when it's snowing. And I have a 4-wheel drive truck. I'm cool, but there's a very big difference between driving and skiing, right? And I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna hit Vegas and I'm gonna come south and go around everything and avoid it. But
it's a scenic route, that's for sure. But it's probably
what's cool about Vegas is, like, most people don't know this, right? So if you do ever, I don't know if you would have this reason, but if you ever are in Vegas and you decide to come the northern route, like you'll go through northern Nevada and then back around through Reno and then dude, that's like a trip through time. Because you're going to go through some towns in Nevada that they haven't changed in 100 years, man. It still looks like 1921 out there. and it's really cool. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a cool thing, but yeah, like time has definitely stopped in some of those areas because Nevada, all people know about Nevada is Vegas, and some people might know Reno, but they don't know. There's a huge fucking state out there. That's a big ass state, and all people know are two cities. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Carson
I've
City,
been out
Virginia
there.
City. There's some there's some cool old towns that like straight out of the West, and they haven't changed, man. You still got the wooden walkways, the boardwalks, and all
Are you
that stuff.
serious?
Yeah, like
Why are they building sets in, man? Just go film out there. There's nothing else there.
yeah, no, there's some cool stuff in the vibe, man. There's a lot of
Yeah.
history. Like that's the thing. Like I know you're talking about like you love history and all, but
Yeah.
I don't know how much of like the Western history you've studied. I've learned a little
dude.
bit from Braxton. He's pointed out another one of his books he's working on, but the history of the West, I don't really know much of. Like I grew up in Florida, man. Like I know Florida history, and I know like the typical American history from like the sanitized US Eastern Seaboard, right? But the history of the West is crazy, especially when you drive through it or you experience it. Like I remember going through and taking my daughter to one of the gold mines, like the original gold, like the last working gold mine here. And like Maddie and I went there a few months ago. Like that's incredible. Like that blows your mind when you walk through it and see it, and you walk down the shaft that you're 40, 50 feet under, and you just look and it goes forever. Like that's crazy. That's real history that you don't learn on the East Coast, but you have to experience that stuff out here. And when you do see it and experience it, it's cool as shit, right, babe? Yep. See, she got it. Yep.
She agrees.
Yeah, like that stuff to me. I even going through Tahoe, like the first time I ever drove up Tahoe on 80, like one of the rest stops on Donner Pass, and you're like, oh shit, this is where the Donner Party was. Like, that's a brutal recollection and revisitation of history. Like that actually happened, and you're like, holy shit. This is where that was. And it's pretty awful, but that shit happened.
Dude, yeah, no, I agree. I'm big on the Western history or the history of the West. I mean, Deadwood is a great example. You ever been to Deadwood?
I have not. I would love to go visit. I have a buddy who lives out in Leeds, which I think is near Deadwood. Yeah. So no, I would love to see that. I watched the show for a season, right, babe? Deadwood. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, whatever.
Yeah.
I watched. It does look cool. Like that stuff is pretty cool to me. And I think I would have loved kind of living in that time frame, man. I think it does. I think it would have been cool. Like I'm pretty brutal when I need to be. No? What's up, cats? All right. We're getting overrun at this point.
It's all good, man. That's why I sequester myself downstairs in the basement. So
yeah, I don't have a basement right now. I would love to have a house with a basement.
Yeah.
She won't allow me to.
It's in due time, man. In due time.
Can we get a house with a basement? Not if we want to live in a city. Whatever. There's a conversation for another time. I'm gonna get Maddie on the podcast, and it's gonna be us arguing about real estate.
That one.
Great. Babe, next week. Oh wait, I can't. I'll be driving.
You're digging the hole.
Just digging the hole.
Hey,
there's Maddie. Right. So yeah, no, I love this. And I think Braxton was working on a book about. I don't know if it was him or if I'm just attributing this to him, but there's this story of this like this 10-year-old girl who just makes her way to the West with nothing but like a pair of sandals and like the clothes that she has with her. And I'm just like, that it's not even uncommon. Like that's what was going on back then. And like, again, 10-year-old. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, I can't have my daughter outside playing. It's just like the stuff that we charged our
like living real live Oregon Trail. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, do you follow Javier Goya on Twitter?
Come on, stop asking me, man. Because
there's another guy I'm gonna put you in touch with.
Write it down.
Another guy you would love.
Send me my notes later.
Yeah. So I got you. All right. So we got Braxton, we got Javier. What was the other one?
I can't remember because I got Dan, Father Dan.
Okay, yeah. Well, you already got him.
Yeah.
Braxton was someone as Frank tries to break into the door there. Yeah, so no, I'll get you Braxton, and I'll get you Javier tomorrow for sure. But yeah, man. All right, brother. I appreciate you coming on, hanging out, drinking a little bit with me. I know you
Thanks for the bourbon, man. I really
Hey,
appreciate it.
thank you
And
for
I
following.
thoroughly
And
enjoyed the conversation, man. So
yeah,
I got told the wife, I was like, it's totally random, but we're gonna do it
it
because
really
this
is.
is what we do. And there will be bourbon.
There will be bourbon. There was bourbon. There will be a mustache. There was one.
Yeah.
But this is Matt Somerlot, and he does have a book. Matt, can they buy this book somewhere? Is there somewhere
Yeah,
they can
man.
buy this?
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon, all the usual
Okay.
places. So yeah,
Yeah.
look it up and yeah, enjoy it. Let me know what you think of it. So you can find me on Twitter with the minimum amount of followers out there. It's all good.
Yeah. What's your Twitter account?
It's Matt_Summerlot.
There you go. So you can find Matt at Matt_Summerlot. You can find his book, Finding His Story in History, on Amazon. Hopefully we get some books sold for you. Either way, I'm going to pimp this tomorrow when I post us up tomorrow night or tomorrow morning. But again, yeah. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Enjoy the bourbon. And I'll be in touch tomorrow with some more accounts for you to follow. And we'll incorporate you into this goon life, my friend.
Sounds good. Anytime you want to talk baseball too, you just let me know.
I will. Hey, look, pitchers and catchers report in like 2 months. It's gonna be great, bro.
Can be soon enough, right?
All right, man. Have a great night.
Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas, buddy.
Merry Christmas, buddy.